This is Monday, November 23rd, 2015, the CUSEN-wide November call. We're waiting for members to arrive.
Hello,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. How about yourself?
Not too bad.
Can you hear me too?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Haven't heard Kathy yet, but I see her.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello,
Hey, I
okay.
got in here, Shannon. I got in here under my this time, Shannon.
I've been sending you an email link. I think what's happening with the Google Hangout link is when you open it, it opens in a browser. It's possible you need to clean the cache out in that browser, but if I send you a brand new link, it usually doesn't do that.
Well, I know. Well, I mean, mine is a Mac, and I don't know if that has anything to do with it either. I know there are some things that are more difficult on a Mac than a PC. Who is that?
I can hear everyone. Everybody's checked in. We have Colleen, Steve, Kathy, and you. Barry should be joining us, and Lillian should be joining us.
Gosh, I didn't. Okay, good, fantastic. So, Colleen, would you like to open us up in prayer?
Sure. Heavenly Creator, we thank you for this time of fellowship and coming together of our network, churches. We ask that you be with us, that we share whatever we can share to help one another, and that you just fill us with the blessings that come from being your children. Amen.
Amen. So I'm going to ask a question real quick up front. We've been having these calls on the fourth Monday of each month. Now, the problem is at the end of the year, this fourth Monday is in a difficult time. Some people can't come because they're already traveling, and then, of course, Christmas. And so we're not going to have the call next month with the week of Christmas. So one of the things we're considering is next year moving it to the third week so that it doesn't have the end of the month issues at the end of the year. How does that impact everybody here?
Well, for me at Louisville, I don't know how many more of these I can attend anyway. We're going to start up with some new classes, and it's probably going to be on Monday nights. And it's going to be Bible studies or book studies or things of that nature, and it would be every Monday.
Okay. Is there a better night than Monday for everybody? Silence?
Yep, maybe we can send out a poll. There's an online polling system that we've been using to try to schedule people. We can throw out a few suggestions, and then people can log or click on the link and just decide if they're available or not, and we can make a decision from there.
Right. We want to make sure we include as many as we can, but we also recognize that when you're at the end of the month like this, November and December are just so difficult because
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
a busy time, not just for people, but for our churches too. So we'll take that into consideration and figure out what we're going to do for that next year.
Yeah, I had hoped to have my classes on Wednesday, but the choir still says that's when they want to meet, and they've been around a lot longer than I have, and so that means we have to move it to Monday or Tuesday, and right now it looks like Monday's getting a little bit more of the favored response. So
Colleen, I know exactly how that is. We've had to have a lot of stuff moved from Wednesday to Tuesday because of that very reason.
yeah.
uh, Interesting. So I'm trying to see who is here. Is that Lillian that's here? That's muted. Is that Kathy? Who is that?
Hey, Barry. This is Barry.
Okay, is Lillian. Are you here, Lillian? Or am I seeing things?
In theory, she's here. I'm not sure if she can hear or if we can hear her.
Is she mute? She's looks like she's muted, doesn't it?
The Google Hangouts doesn't say she's muted, but her device may be muted. I can see video. Oh, I can see video, but I'm not
Okay.
hearing her. You might want to check her device settings for sound and microphone.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess Lillian, we can't hear you. Hmm. Okay. So who'd like to talk about what's going on at your church for now in the holidays? You want me to pick somebody? I guess I can't pick Lillian unless she called one of us.
Well, I can start out.
Okay, that's good.
At MCC Louisville, we just finished a very busy week for Transgender Week of Remembrance. And in fact, we had our TDOR service last night that we shared it with the Presbyterian Seminary in Louisville. Our Trans Women National had their first annual banquet Saturday night, and it was very well attended. And, it was just very rewarding, and some attendees were there that were honored for their service, and et cetera. And then we had, coming up, we have a retirement luncheon for Don and for Don and Ron, who are retiring as our musicians. Ron is going to be taking a break from the church so we can get started with the new musical director. And then Don is just taking a break from playing the organ because he's been doing it for 52 years and going to just sit and worship and celebrate. And then probably he's going to be coming back and doing special music. So we have that scheduled. We have our Christmas concert schedule on the 16th of December and the 17th of December. We have our Blue Christmas service, and then we have our Christmas Eve service.
So was the transgendered remembrance of that? Was that service at your church?
No, it was last year. This year we had it at the Presbyterian Seminary. That way it's a little bit bigger than our church where we have right now. And the students at the seminary participated in it as well. And so it was being used as a training platform as well for students at the seminary. So they had a Trans 101 and I think 102 there on Friday prior to the actual service.
Okay. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I guess are you doing anything special or different in how you're decorating with your new space?
Yes. One of our church members, Bob, is going to be doing the decorating on Wednesday. And yeah, it's definitely going to be different. We used to put up 3 Christmas trees, and now we can only put up 1. But it's going to be nice. I'm not going to be here. I'm leaving tomorrow morning. I'm taking vacation and going to Atlanta. So he's going to be putting up with the help of some of our other congregational members, and it's going to be lovely. I have faith and confidence it's going to look very nice, and it's not going to look gaudy, trying to cram too much in there. It's going to look nice.
That sounds really good.
Mhm.
So who would like to, what about Steve? What's going on in West Virginia?
Pretty much the same. We're still struggling with attendance. We're hoping there will be people there during Advent, but we'll see.
Well, are you doing anything special?
Well, we always do something special for the Sunday just before Christmas, like a service of lessons and carols. And we always decorate the church for Christmas, but the last couple of years, even during Advent, we'd usually only have attendance maybe 1 week out of all of Advent. So I'm hoping it goes better this year.
So, what do you guys do for Christmas?
You mean Christmas Day? We usually don't have anything on Christmas Day.
What about Christmas Eve?
No.
You don't
I
do
mean,
anything?
we used to when we had a bunch of people attending, but now that we have people who usually don't make it on Sunday, we don't do extra services for them to not attend.
Let me see. Can Lillian talk? Can she, hey, Lillian? Hey, I just saw her. I see her now. Can you hear us, Lillian? Yeah, her mic's not muted.
Yep, we can see you, Lillian. We can't hear you. If you're on your PC, you might want to right-click the sound icon and open up recording, the recording devices tab. Then you can see if your microphone's activated, or if you're on a tablet or a phone. There, if you touch the screen, little buttons will pop up.
She says she hears.
Hmm.
Well, is there any way that she could type something? I can go, I'll go ahead and at Life Journey Church, we are having a Thanksgiving. We always have a Thanksgiving at the church on Thanksgiving Day on Thursday from noon to 4 o'clock. The church provides like the turkey and the ham and things like that, and then everybody brings a side. And there's normally about 35 to 40 people there each year. And yesterday, Sunday, we started our giving tree. And our giving tree, what we do is we work with Indiana Youth Group and the Day Spring Center for Homeless Families, and then we're sponsoring 2 other homeless families, and we make little cards and give instructions for people, and they go purchase a gift, and some of the wrapped, some are not wrapped, and they put their little placards, the little cards on the gifts, and it could be anything from food to larger items. It's amazing. Sometimes we've had some pretty big items, and people will go out and take the card and buy it. Last year, it was a freezer for Indiana Youth Group. They've got a community center not far from the church, and they're always in need of things because it's an old house that they're fixing up for that group. And so last year it was a freezer. This year I'm not sure what it is. I haven't looked at all the cards. But we'll actually sponsor families at Dayspring Center so that the parents actually will get like gift cards from Walmart and places like that, and then the parents will go out and then get gifts for their kids, so that the kids get a Christmas from their parents, and not from somebody else, but and so that's good for the parents to experience that. Dayspring Center actually houses the families for 3 to 6 months to help them get back on their feet, and then helps them get jobs, and then helps them find a place to rent and establish a new home. So it's a pretty good ministry to work with them. Go ahead. Oh, good.
Yeah, I was going to say I forgot to mention that, David, because that's what we do as well. We provide gift cards to Walmart or Target for the parents of children affected or infected with HIV/AIDS with the House of Ruth. And the same Bob who's going to be decorating the church is collecting coats and blankets and warm socks and clothing for the homeless. And then something else, I had put out a little survey to see where they wanted to give their gifts this year, and House of Ruth came on top, and then second to the top was the Humane Society. And so we'll be also collecting things for the Humane Society for dogs and cats and cleaning supplies and things of that nature. Because, until we get a little bit bigger that we can physically go out and do things as a group, we're having to do this type of giving. So.
Well, that's pretty. Yeah, but Christmas time is it almost seems like Christmas time gives us a reason, and it gets people are in that mood to do these things. Now, some people think it's a cop out because, well, we should be doing it every day of the year. But you know what? At least there's Christmas.
Yeah.
At least they do it at Christmas, because if it wasn't for Christmas, they wouldn't do it. So.
Right.
So my attitude is, let's go out with good, end the year with like gangbusters and do everything we can.
Yeah.
So we have a special Christmas service that we're going to have. I think the Friday night, not the week before Christmas, is a special service, Christmas service. We also have a Christmas Eve service at the church at 7:00 on Christmas Eve. One thing I should mention: yesterday at our church, we allowed our young adults to plan the service, and we have one young adult that is in seminary right now, and she preached. And young adults were playing all the instruments, and they picked the songs and the order of the service, and so it was sort of their flavor, their time. So that was a lot of fun. Some different songs that people were used to, but they were wonderful. I mean, I'd known all the songs, but not everybody did. But it was a wonderful experience, and they even had an altar call, which was really surprising that they wanted to do that. So the pastors were a part of the altar call yesterday, but that doesn't sound so young adultish, but that's what they wanted to do. So that was pretty cool. And I think Christmas Day we're doing the same thing as Thanksgiving. Now normally Jeff and I actually we host our church's Christmas party at our house on Christmas Day, and it's a big buffet. We normally have well over 100 people that come through, but my dad had a brain tumor this year and had radiation in October, and I haven't seen my parents in a while, and so the only way I'm going to have time to check in with them is to go visit them at Christmas time this year. Yeah, it's funny, my dad has the same brain tumor that I had when I was in my 20s. Talk about reverse genetics. Kind of bizarre.
How's he doing, David?
He says he's doing good, but my parents are kind of funny that I actually have to go there and see them to know if they're telling me the truth or not.
Right.
Because they don't tell me the truth.
Well, they want to shield you.
Yes, that's what he says. He's doing fine, but I'll see you in a month.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we don't have the Thanksgiving dinner on Thanksgiving Day. We had it last Sunday our congregation meeting was on Sunday, and so after we were finished, we came upstairs and we had turkey and ham, and then everybody brought the fixings, so we had so much to eat. And then we're going to do that again on December 13th after it's going to be the retirement luncheon. But as where we are right now, we don't have a huge kitchen like we used to, and so I don't know if one day we'll do that again where we have the holiday meals, or if that's just by the wayside now. Who knows?
Or have Boston Market bring it in.
Yes. Well, it's not the cooking, it's the cleaning up afterwards, because we have one little sink compared to what we used to have. And so that's the worst thing.
Yeah, that could cause some problems.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Is Lillian? Is there anything breaking through with Lillian yet, Shannon?
I don't think she's gonna be able to get through with the microphone tonight, but she did send a message that Paducah will be having a Christmas Eve service, and they're doing gifts for the homeless this year. They have a place called Tent City. They're collecting supplies for food and warm coats, tents, and tarps. Suzette and her will have an open house for Christmas Eve, and that was the report for Paducah.
Oh, cool. Well, good for them. I guess ask her how attendance is doing and whatnot at Paducah, if you can get that to her. Are you texting with her?
She can hear us, but she's messaging in the group chat.
So Kathy and Barry, thanks a lot for the cards that we're all getting.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. There's a bit of a story behind that. Kathy and I got together one evening over at my apartment and had dinner, and I made her take a look at my model trains, and she pretended like they were really exciting and fun and everything. And then,
I think I talked to you that night, didn't I?
Yeah. We had the leadership call that night.
That's right. That's right.
So after we did that, then we sat down and she introduced me to one of her hobbies, which is making cards from scrapbooking material, and that's the beautiful results that we get of are the art that comes out of that. And so two of us made a whole bunch of cards together, and it was so fun. I think she's going to convert me to a new hobby. We actually had so much fun that we invited our spouses to get together and do it again one Friday night in December. So I think our spouses will probably just sit and play with the cats or something, but the two of us are going to make a bunch more cards next month. So it turned out really good.
Yeah, do you think Robin would like that?
Well, I think he'd like playing with the cats and cooking dinner, so we'll let him do that.
That's kind of what I thought, yeah.
Although he's invited, and so is Kathy's Robin, of course. If they feel like they'd like to join us, that'd be great. Also, well, go ahead.
And the model trains were actually quite fascinating. I think there's a hobby that I spend more money on than scrapbooking, so I feel better.
Yeah, that is true, actually. I invited Kathy to run one of the trains, but she didn't feel like she wanted to end our friendship if one of them went off the edge of the layout, so she passed on that. So,
how many people here know if people are going to general conference from their churches, or how many people are going? Lay delegates, pastors.
Well, there'll be 4 from Louisville plus Robin, Reverend Robin. He's not officially with Louisville, but so we'll have 5 from our area.
Wow, that's amazing. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
I
mean, we would have had it much better, but it's very costly to go that far.
I know.
And it's I think it would have been a lot easier. Of course, it's water under the dam now, but if we would have gone to Vancouver instead of Victoria, much more direct flights.
So it looks like Lillian and your lay delegate are going to be going. I guess Lillian, your spouse, isn't going to go. It looks like just you and your lay delegate. I saw the little bubble that popped up. Steve, what about you guys? Are anybody going to attend from West Virginia?
No, we can never go because of the timing. It's always the beginning of July, which is not good for me. I can't take off work.
Oh, okay. I guess what line of work is that?
I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the Department of Commerce, and
Uh,
our year ends June 30th, and
that's
we started
right.
the year July 1.
That's right.
And they always have General Conference the first week of July.
Goodness.
But worse for you. It's the beginning of our new fiscal year also, and they really hate us taking off the 1st of July.
So I guess Shannon, do you know of anybody that's going to go from conference from Columbus or Dayton? I'm pretty sure Joy's going to go.
I'm not sure from either of those churches. I did hear Joy mention about going. From Columbus, I haven't heard.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, I know there's going to be at least a few coming from Life Journey. I'm not sure how many, but so let's say Louisville, Paducah, Life Journey, um, Dayton. I guess Todd. I'm not. I think Todd mentioned that at the gathering that I thought he mentioned that he was going to go. Um, so maybe we'll have a better representation than maybe I was thinking. I know maybe sending pastors and lay delegates may be expensive for some churches, and well, I mean, that is a big expense. I know um, uh, I think I saw an email where I think there was like a draft of the statement of faith
Yes. Mm-hmm.
that had come out.
Yes.
What did y'all think that saw it?
Well, to be
Oh,
totally honest with you, I think Robin and I were actually quite relieved, and we were pretty pleased with what we saw.
Yeah, yeah, I have to admit I was a little surprised too. It, yeah, it was better than I was expecting, in terms of what it was including.
I have to agree because, originally with some of the surveys and what the survey results were saying about not saying anything about the Trinity and it's like, so I was glad to see that was still in there, that the beliefs were still there. I was a little surprised at the emphasis on the environment and the climate and everything like that, but I know that's the direction that's been coming from the moderator for over a year. And it is part of all creation. So I
Right.
was just surprised it made it in there, but then I was happy that it was.
Yeah, yeah. I think of creation as more than just people. So
Hmm.
yeah, I agree. Um, so yeah, I mean, yeah, it was I thought it was a positive thing. Overall. I guess some people may not have seen it. I'm not sure who was on that email list, but I know they try to get it out to as many people as they could. I guess whoever's on MCC's mailing list.
Hmm.
So I guess that's still going to be vetted. I don't think that was like the final draft, and um, yeah, I'm not sure I can't remember, are they seeking input or
Yes.
they are okay, I couldn't remember exactly.
Yeah. In fact, if you go through it again, and if you're on the internet, there is a feedback um, link on each page.
I looked at it on my phone. I didn't realize that. Okay, well, I guess everybody, I guess I encourage everybody to do that. Go through your email and look at that, and then go through it, so that MCC can get as much feedback. Because the more feedback they get, that means it'll be that much easier to go through at conference.
Exactly. Yeah.
So give your feedback, please. Does anybody have anything else to share?
I just wanted to share a few insights from the Transgender Day of Remembrance service that we had last night. Pastor Colleen gave the keynote address, and she really emphasized the connection to acceptance and divine love, and the beauty of diversity, and just a lot of those really good themes. And there were two things that we did there which I had never done at a transgender service before that were really touching to me. One was, as the names of those that were murdered was read during the service, there were balloons that had been placed in the pews at the chapel, and the congregants, one by one, released the balloons so that they went up into the air as the names were read. And then as we left, the names of the murdered people had been written on smooth stones like we used at our network gathering in worship. And each of us was invited to take one of the smooth stones with the name on to continue to reflect and remember that particular person. So I was really moved by that. So another thing I chatted with the organizers about that we had always done down in Elizabethtown that they had chosen not to do after previously doing it was to actually name the way that the individuals were murdered. It's kind of controversial to do that, and I just wondered if you all had any thoughts one way or the other about doing that, and if you had any experience with any of those elements in transgender services before.
Mm.
The seminary did a chapel service last Tuesday that was for Tidor, and what was involved with that was 13 different transgendered members who had been murdered. Their story was read. They were read by different people. Some of the stories were read like they were the person, and some of the stories were read like a news report, but it was included on how they were murdered and a couple other details that may have been controversial. But the biggest piece was after they read their part, they participated in a die-in. So we had 13 people, including several, the dean, registrar, other academic affairs administrators who read these, and they were lying on the chapel floor to make a statement about this, and it was very powerful, and it was well received, believe it or not. But I really do believe it has to do with the context that you're doing this in. We have a lot of groups that are active in the social justice movements right now, so a lot of this, the die-ins, the reading of graphic material, a lot of us are already used to hearing and seeing these things because of the work we do. But if you're part of a congregation who's sensitive to those things, then maybe it's not a good idea. But that was pretty powerful for me to be a part of and to witness administrators participating and, lying on the floor.
Yeah. When we were in seminary, we would hold pictures up, like an 11 by 14 picture of the person, and then on the back would be a little biography of them. And so they would read that off in seminary. But now last year, Barry, we did the purple balloons too. They were a little darker balloon, and on each balloon, and this was at MCC Louisville, we had a little bio on each balloon that the person could keep, when they went home. But the stones I thought was very meaningful. It had been my suggestion to use the stones based on going into Unitarian churches, Universalist churches, and they would have stones that you could take, and they would sometimes even had them in a bowl of water. And so if you notice at the front of the service up there where the altar was, they had fabric that was supposed to represent the water. And those candles that were there were the light, like we were lifting that person whose name was on that stone up into the light. Because a lot of the people who attend are not Christian, and so I said let's not make everything overtly Christian. It's got to be diverse, and I think that's what you saw too, Barry, wasn't it? It was the liturgies and everything were very diverse and affirming of different faith traditions. But we've never had the die-in before, and I don't know how that would go across. But I was disappointed, to tell you the truth, because out of MCC Louisville, and we've got several of our members are part of the trans community, we had very few people come outside of the trans people. You know, Barry was there, and I was so glad to see that, and Marty and Donna was there, but, you know, not a whole lot, Barry. Were you surprised?
I was, and as I talked with the organizers afterwards, they mentioned that the numbers were down quite a bit. They mentioned they'd also done more publicity this year. You know, this year has been a year like no other for the circus in the media with
Right.
transgender issues. We've had murders in cousin land that fortunately we have responded to, you know, as MCC. So I don't know, I just had a lot of feelings. One thing that was offered to us as we walked in was to wear a black armband with a butterfly on it, and I absolutely loved that. I mean, an armband with a butterfly on it, that was perfect. And I do agree that up front the altar with the fabric and the candles was just wonderful, and it did add a non-sectarian vibe to the whole thing, which was good.
Well, and just for whoever's planning for next year, I had reached out and had coffee with the pastor for the First Unitarian Universalist Church, and I had contacted Ray with Unity Church, and we had a pastor that came in from the First Lutheran Church about next year, and this is for everybody, to try to pull it in and have a more ecumenical service. Where we could draw in people from the different congregations, and to have PFLAG. 2 people from PFLAG came in that I knew that was there, but you know, I think we could have pulled in a whole lot more, because to me, you know, when you're talking about the deaths of so many people who did nothing wrong, just trying to be who they're supposed to be, you know, it'd be nice to have a very nice remembrance service for them, and we did have it as a celebration of their lives as well. But, so I'm hoping for more next year, Barry. So maybe let's see if we can make that happen.
That sounds great.
You know, I mean, were there more people from your church there last year?
Well, last year it was at our church, and yes, we probably had about 10 or 15 from our church, and then we had, you know, the other community came in as well.
Okay, so but that makes sense to me now. It was at your church. Okay. You know, I do wonder if you know, the transgender community, I think there's still a lot of acceptance needed even within the LGBT community.
Yes.
And that may be feeding that a little bit.
Well, but at our church, David, we have our trans community as part of our worship. We have them as readers, we have them as ushers, we have them as servers and acolytes. So they are our church. And I was very happy to see who did show up. I was very happy with that, but I would have liked to have seen a good many more. So.
Yeah.
That just means our work is set out for us. You know, we just do it a little bit better next year.
That's true. So is there any, I guess, Shannon, do you want to turn the recording off?
Yep, let me go ahead and do that.